Hi everybody, welcome to Safe Center's Domestic Violence 101. Today's topic will be power and control, where we're going to explore some of the tactics used in domestic violence relationships and grow our understanding of why survivors might stay. As a disclaimer, the following video provides an overview of power and control and speaks generally about intimate partner violence. Every survivor's experience is unique. If you recognize some of the things mentioned in this video in your relationship, we are here to help. And just keep in mind that some relationships may have everything I talk about today, some may have just one or two things, but all of that indicates unhealthy, and so we are here to help no matter how many things you can identify with. So intimate partner domestic violence is caused by one partner's belief that they should have power and control over their partner and the tactics that they use to actually gain that power and control over their partner and keep it. This often involves a range of tactics that are used to create this web of coercive control. This wheel is called a power and control wheel, and it describes many of the different tactics that we commonly see. And this is what we're going to explore today. So first up, we're going to take a look at intimidation. So this is making your partner afraid by using looks or actions or gestures, smashing things, destroying objects, abusing pets, or displaying weapons. So this is something that's going to send that message that even if I'm not hurting you, I could if I wanted to. And sometimes even you should be grateful that I'm not. Okay, and next we're going to talk about emotional abuse, so putting them down, making them feel bad, calling them names, making them think they're crazy. That's called gaslighting. Playing mind games, humiliating them in front of other people, or even in private, and making them feel guilty about things. Isolation is controlling, what their partner does, who they talk to, even what they read, where they go, limiting their outside involvement, and then using jealousy to justify that. And sometimes that's sneaky and sometimes it's very direct. So your partner may say, you are not going to go and hang out with that person, or they may say, I just don't think they're right for you. They're a bad influence. I'm the only one that cares about you. And so it can look either way. Okay, next up we have minimizing, denying, and blaming. So this is minimizing, so saying, that's not that big of a deal, that's normal, couples fight, I didn't do that, you're misremembering things. Denying, saying that that just never happened. This can be going into gaslighting, so making that person feel like they're crazy and they're imagining things, they start to question themselves. And then blaming, so saying, well, if you wouldn't have done this, then I wouldn't have had to abuse you, which is just not the case. We're all responsible for our own behaviors and actions. And that's one that goes to kind of reinforce that emotional abuse and saying that it's their fault and making them feel bad. Using children. So this is something we see very commonly when children are shared in an abusive relationship. So a perpetrator may make them feel guilty, use the children to relay messages back and forth, using visitation if you're separated to harass them or to still control them in some ways. And then in an abusive relationship, we often hear, threatening to get full custody, threatening to take the children and leave state, and those things are all pretty powerful means of control for a parent. And economic abuse. So statistics show that economic abuse is present in almost every single domestic violence relationship. I think the statistic is about 97%. So this is preventing them from working or making them work, giving them an allowance, making them ask for money, and then not letting them have any access to the family income or the budget or the bank account. So this is obviously pretty effective at keeping that person in the relationship because they don't have any access to funds or anything like that to leave. Okay, and then we have gender privilege. So this is, special advantages based on your gender, maybe treating your partner like a servant, making all the big decisions, or refusing to work. This could work, in either gender norm stereotype. So, a female could say, well, I'm not going to work. You go work. I'm a woman. You're the man. You're supposed to provide for me. And a man may say, you're not working, you're a woman, you stay home and you nurture the kids and you clean the house and you cook me dinner. So it can work either way. And an important distinction here is if both people are not okay with the dynamic in a relationship, when one of them is being forced to fill a role that they don't want to fill. And lastly, we have coercion and threats. So this is, making threats to hurt them or to hurt themselves, to hurt the family members or anything like that, threatening to commit suicide if you leave, threatening to leave them, making them drop charges, making them do illegal things. A lot of different things could fit into this wedge. And these things are pretty effective at manipulating a survivor to do what the perpetrator wants them to do, which is the whole point. And a lot of times it creates this, these skeletons or this dirt that then they threaten to expose if their partner leaves them or doesn't do what they want them to do. Okay, so that is a lot all at once. That can be pretty overwhelming, but when we put all of that together like that in that wheel, it becomes easier to see the full picture. So separately, some smaller experiences of those tactics may be easy to forgive or overlook, or, he called me a name, but we were arguing and it's the only time he's done that, or, she threatened this, but she apologized for it, or, what have you. It's often not until we see them all together like this that we realize and can connect the dots. And like I said, that can be pretty overwhelming for survivors. We all take the path of least resistance in life. We do things the easiest and most efficient ways that we can with the least amount of risk to us. So there are some risks that we're just not going to take. We park where we're supposed to park, we put the money in the meter, we do all of these things because it's just not worth the risk of getting a ticket or getting in trouble for, right? So all the things on the inside of this wheel are legal, or they're very difficult to have evidence of if there is a crime there. And it's often only when those tactics are not working anymore that an abusive partner will rise to physical or sexual violence, which is that outside ring. And the fear of that violence or actual violence is what holds all that together and makes those other tactics work and be effective, even though legally those things aren't necessarily crimes, aren't necessarily abuse. But the way that we look at it, in terms of the trauma that is put on that survivor, those things are absolutely abusive. All right, so have you ever wondered why survivors stay in these relationships? It's something that we hear a lot. It's something that survivors hear a lot. Why didn't you just leave? Why would you put up with that? All of those why questions that are more harmful than helpful. So these tactics are why, and none of them are the survivor's doing or the survivor's fault. Okay, so the cause of abusive relationships, as we can see, is abusive people. Those people that are seeking power and control over others. It's not anger. It's not an anger management issue. The reason that they get angry is because their power or control is being challenged or taken. So if their partner doesn't do exactly what they want them to do, then they show anger. But the underlying issue is power and control. And we see this in a lot of these relationships. The abuse is very secret. It's very hidden. Sometimes people are surprised when it comes out because that abusive partner has control over themselves in front of other people. They may say, when we get in the car, we're going to talk about what happened, or when we get home, that's when the abuse is going to start for something that happened in public. So that shows us that they do have some impulse control. So victims of abuse are never to blame for being abused. It is never their fault. We can see, we don't make decisions in vacuums, and we can't just take one of these wedges and try to analyze why they're making a decision based on that, because it's the whole wheel, and there's a lot of different things that work together to create this web that is an abusive relationships. So survivors deserve our support always. Okay, so if you noticed any of these dynamics in your own relationship or in the relationship of someone in your life, we're here to help. We are an empowerment-based agency, so what that means is if you want to talk to us or engage in services with us, we are not here to tell you what to do or to make decisions for you. We're here to give you information so that you can make the best decisions for yourself. We offer safety planning, advocacy, supportive counseling, an emergency shelter for safety reasons, and we also will provide that service to secondary victims. So if someone in your life is experiencing domestic violence and you're not sure how to help, you're not sure how to cope with your own feelings about that, we can help you with that too. 24-hour crisis hotline, 877-952-7283, or you can email SafeCenter at thesafecenter.org. Just keep in mind that that email is only monitored during business hours, so is not the best way to reach us if you need immediate assistance. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for further episodes of Domestic Violence 101.